The panic was setting in pretty hard on television and some of the national websites out there that the SEC had been passed by the Big Ten, and now the Big Ten was here to stay. Don't confuse Ohio State with the Big Ten. Ohio State is Ohio State. The Big Ten is Nebraska, they're Rutgers, they're Washington and Oregon too, but they're also Illinois, Northwestern, Penn State, Indiana. There's a lot of trash in there. You remember the scene in Star Wars where, the original Star Wars, the first one, where Leia, Luke, and Han Solo are in that garbage compactor? The bottom of that's the Big Ten. There's a lot of trash in there, and that's what we saw Saturday. The difference between the SEC and the Big Ten is not close. The difference between the Big Ten, the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC, it is not close. The SEC getting 5 teams into the playoff is not abnormal. Would not be strange at all. I think the one thing that when you watch games, and I think I watched I watched 13 games on Saturday, and I watched the Friday night games as well. So 15 games. You watched 15 games. And there was a moment in time during SEC play on Saturday afternoon. I wrote this on Legge's Thoughts about how it was just riveting television. It was as good as it got. As much as I have concern about the future of fan experience at these games, it'd be hard to go to Nashville, Columbia, or the other, or what was the other game? Oh, Starkville, and watch those games live and in person and feel like you got shortchanged. I mean, it is riveting television. Oklahoma, Ole Miss was outstanding. And I think when you step back, here's the Georgia part of this. When you step back and you think about where Georgia's at in this season, at 6-1, if I'm not mistaken, going into the game with the Gators, Tennessee can't stop scoring. And they are something else. When you look at Alabama, who I think is probably the best team in the country, it's either Alabama or Texas A&M. It's one of the two. And Ohio State and Indiana certainly have plenty to say about that. But when you see the struggle and effort that Alabama had to put in to win on Saturday, when you watch the fight between Vanderbilt and Missouri, you're like, you don't see this in other parts of college football. But the thing that struck me about Georgia and watching Ole Miss was, they nearly blew the lid off of Oklahoma. That thing came real close to being a blowout. You can get feelings in games. That came really, really close. It didn't happen, but they did leave with a victory. And, I don't see anything in Ole Miss's way at this stage. So, you're Georgia. You've played the bulk of your schedule. The Florida game, I'll get to that in a minute. But when you look around and you see where we're at in the season, Texas is just not what... they came in this season number 1 in the country. They hung in there with Ohio State for sure on the road. But, man, they just aren't great. They've gone to overtime in back-to-back weeks on the road. You're not going to hear me talk about how it's hard to play in Starkville. That you won't hear. I'll put it let me say it this way. You're not going to hear me say it the same way that I talk about playing in, certainly not at Auburn or Death Valley or any of these places. Starkville's difficult enough. It is difficult adjacent. It's not South Carolina when Georgia comes to town. It's not Neyland Stadium. And Texas just could not. They should have lost that game, period. This is back-to-back weeks of winning games they should have lost. And there's something to be said for that, for Steve Sarkisian. For sure, there is. There's also something to be said against it. You can't keep doing that and think you're good. For Georgia, they split. They probably won the opposite game than they should have. They probably should have lost to Tennessee and beat Alabama. But they didn't, and it is what it is. But it's about what it is. Texas got some losses coming if they keep playing the way they are. And it ain't going to work. What's going to work for you is the deal we've got with SoPoly Outdoor Furniture. So happy to have them back on as partners. Listen, you use the code DEAN10, DEAN10 at checkout. I sit in the St. Simon Swivel glider chair every single day to do these reports. And I put on there on the screen what might look right at your cabin or your beach house. Use the code DEAN10, get 10% off and free shipping, which is probably, if you're doing it right, the bigger deal. I mean, you're going to get a lot off that way. So happy to have SoPoly Outdoor Furniture back in the fold. And if you're out, if you have an outdoor space and you have multiple TVs, I've got buddies who roll their televisions out there on Saturdays and they check out the games. I mean, this is perfect gear to use in your backyard or your front of your beach or whatever. And you're watching these games, you're going, this is outstanding television. South Carolina did what South Carolina does yesterday. They lost a game that they figured out how to lose. And I wrote this in Legge's thoughts. I wrote about how South Carolina just can't help themselves. This, by the way, I'm going to put it on the screen real quick. This is the setup at Dawg Post World Headquarters. That is an EcoPoly chair. Let me get that off the screen. This is the setup that we've got in the layer of Dawg Post World. And this is why I can watch that many games, because I watched 3 at a time and then the other windows. So I don't put 4 on the screen. Like I see that with YouTube TV. That is awesome if you have one television. I prefer to watch 3 at once. Matt particularly, but Ryan as well, Dylan, everybody in the Dawg Post crew has gotten very used to watching TV like this. And these bye weekends can really influence the way you think about teams. I mean, I think Vanderbilt is extremely gutty and gritty. They would be a tough out for Georgia. I think, another Alabama-Georgia game, I don't know where the game would be played. I think the way it's structuring right now, it would not be on campus. Right now, it would not be on campus. But I would probably pick Georgia in the second game, but let's just see what happens. Texas has got some challenges. Tennessee looks great. I just wonder if they don't have a win that matters. Their game against Vanderbilt at the end of the season, I mean, Vandy has a better win than Tennessee for sure. And, they were more competitive against Alabama. I'm not sure if that matters a ton, but the win over Mizzou, that was a tough loss for Missouri. It's going to be hard for Mizzou to claw back in this thing. I think Oklahoma's in real trouble. I think the 2 teams in the league, I would say the 3 teams in the league, I'll go as far as to say 4. Bama, A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, maybe in that order, maybe not, have, are in good shape. I think for Vanderbilt and Tennessee, moving forward, the loser of that game might not make it, particularly if it's Tennessee, they won't make it. If it's Vanderbilt, they might not make it. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, I mean, if Georgia Tech gets to Atlanta with a loss, that at this stage would be surprising. I mean, even though we're talking about a Tech team that, if you should expect things from South Carolina, you should expect the same things from Georgia Tech. I mean, at some point, Georgia Tech is going to Georgia Tech. But I don't know. I was talking with someone earlier this morning. It's Sunday morning now, about the report from The Athletic and Dana Rossini. She's a very good reporter. She didn't just make that up. And someone credible told her that on behalf of Sark, perhaps. I can't imagine Sark's like looking around, but on behalf of him, someone's punching his name out there that in a meaningful way, someone that matters out there. And I saw, I don't think, Jimmy and company are, it's very possible. She's just not, she just doesn't miss these things. And, for Jimmy and them, I don't know Jimmy Sexton at all, but it behooves him to knock down that report. I will say they don't exactly knock things down very often, but Jimmy's job is to get as much value for his client as possible. It is irrelevant what he says. It is irrelevant what Jimmy says. But I don't mean that bad. I'm just saying his job is to get his client as much money as possible. I wonder how long, this has nothing to do with Sark at this stage. I wonder how long the market in college football is going to continue to be the way it is. We got a bubble in college coaching right now for sure. I mean, Brian Kelly is Mark Stoops going to get fired. Mark Stoops going to get fired. Mike Norvell is going to get fired. Hugh Freeze is going to get fired. You're talking about over probably close to $100 million in buyout just from those three. Close. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I mean, Brian Kelly is at $50 million, and it would not shock me to see LSU make a move. It's not working. Like, that's not working. That is not going to work. It's not working. None of it. I'll put Legge's thoughts on the screen as I talk here. This was me talking about the Carolina game. This is Ida Blankenship, for those of you who know the best show in television history, Mad Men. And Miss Ida Blankenship says it's a business of sadist and masochist, and you know which one you are. And I was talking to Carolina fans. They know which one they are. It never works. It doesn't. It's not. I mean, you could see it happening in slow motion. If Alabama got a first down, they weren't just going to go down and tie. They were going to win the game. And that's exactly what happened. I would not want a rematch with Ole Miss if I were Georgia. Chambliss is something else. The running back is great. I think Georgia could very much at the end of the season, if they win their games, even if they don't win their games, if they could be 10-2 with wins over 11-1 Ole Miss and 11-1 Georgia Tech. And they wouldn't, right now. I remember a season ago, I'm going to contradict myself, but a year ago, I was on a flight after the UMass game to New York City. I went up there for an event, and we were there for 2 nights. And when I landed, in Brooklyn, Army was playing, I think Navy or Army was playing, Notre Dame was playing either Army or Navy. I don't know which one, but that was stupid. So they're up there, and then you're watching Alabama get throttled by Oklahoma. Like, it was hard to process as I was watching in a cab going from, I think, JFK or LaGuardia. It was one of the two, LaGuardia or JFK to Manhattan. And I'm just watching it going, I cannot believe this. I don't know if that's going to happen this season with Alabama, but it did happen last year. And this is the same Alabama team that got worked by a Florida State team that's just straight up bad. The ACC is Tech should win the ACC as it stands right now. Miami, that was ugly last night. You can look at the final score all you want to, but if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. Oregon, that was ugly last night. That was just not impressive. LSU, that was bad. That was worse than ugly. So I say all that to say this, when we go into these final stretches of the season, the season's almost done. This has been a fast season. It's been long, but it's been fast. I still have an injury from Knoxville, believe it or not. I'm not going to show you, but it hurts sometimes. But I don't know what these next few weeks hold, but it does not seem to me. I think Georgia may have lost the right game. They may have lost the game that, they don't have to play 8 days after they play Tech. They can play that game and then go like a month without playing. That may be what happens. And in fact, I would suspect that will happen. Georgia needs Alabama to lose twice. They need Texas A&M to lose once. I don't know if A&M will lose. And I don't know the math then. Last year, the math got kind of really, fuzzy math Al Gore deal. It got close to that last year. I didn't quite understand it. But Georgia's win over Texas mattered a lot. Well, they don't have the win over Alabama this time. They're chasing Alabama now. If A&M loses 2 games, Georgia's going to go play. I don't know if it benefits you at all to play in the SEC championship anymore. I think if you're Georgia and your goal is to win the national championship, I don't know if it benefits you. And this is not something that I've arrived at slowly. It is quickly. It's something that I've gone to slowly because what do you benefit? How do you benefit from it? I just don't know. So these next 3 games are pretty important for Georgia. If you win them, the Tech game just, I'm not going to say it won't matter, but it will matter in that you're playing Georgia Tech, first of all. Let's not bury the lead. That's number one. Number two, if you win that game, you're probably the 5 seed. You could be the 4. I mean, right now, it looks like the 2 teams that play in the Big Ten and the SEC, the 4 teams that play in the Big Ten and SEC championship game will be the 1 through 4. They will not host a home game. But if you're Georgia, are you good with like not playing in that game and then you get a full month's rest? Because they played in that game and got a full month's rest, and of course they lost their starting quarterback last year. So as the kids say, 6, 7. I mean, like, I don't really know that there's one difference there. So I think if you're Georgia, the best case scenario, period, and this is not going to happen, is you do go 11-1. You don't play in the SEC championship game, and you are the 4 seed. That's a different conversation. That's almost certainly not going to happen. But, like, Miami's not going to be the 5. Like, the Tech-Georgia game probably is for the 5 seed. As it stands right now, and you go on out and project. But if you know college football well enough, you know that Georgia getting to 11-1, whereas it may be likely on an individual basis, individual game, it's tricky, man. That's not always the easiest thing to do, is to get there. And, that line being at 7.5, I mean, I don't think there's anything to be scared of on that front, because what's happening now is these games are not at all, this is not at all like it once was. This is not a situation where you can just bury teams with depth. That probably died after the 23 season. And there's just, because as soon as Oregon and UW and SC and UCLA went into the Big Ten, as soon as Oklahoma and Ohio and Texas came into the SEC, there's too many big games. There's too much spread out talent. I don't know if there's parity. I think that term is overused, because the teams at the top are still Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. I mean, like, they're still up there. They haven't left. It's just that the teams that we thought could elevate this season, Florida, South Carolina, Clemson, LSU, trash, all fraudulent. I mean, I don't know what to expect from Florida this weekend. I think they need to get off to a good start. I think they have fought a lot this season. Billy didn't get fired because the Gators quit. He got fired because they lost. But I think, my big takeaways from this weekend are Ole Miss is pretty good. Like, that was a really good win for Georgia. I think that Georgia is probably the 5th best team in the country, something like that. But that's like positioned to win it all. And, if you are, I don't think Georgia Tech can win it. I'm talking about the national championship. I don't think Tech can win it. I don't think Vanderbilt can win it. There is a ceiling on some of this stuff. I know. I know. It's fun to project and hope and all these things, but like Miami, they're just not consistent the way you need to be. And, BYU. So you got like BYU, Vanderbilt, Miami, Tech. Like, that grouping, I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical. But like Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, I don't think so. But I don't think they're fraudulent by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's a group of teams, and the only thing that's strange about them is that group is that Indiana's in there. But Indiana looks as good as anybody. And is that because the Big Ten is so weak? Maybe. I mean, that's very possible. Oregon playing as bad as they did to a, powerless Wisconsin team. I mean, Wisconsin's horrible. And I know, man, you do play these bad games, but like Oregon was only up 14-0 like midway through the third or whatever it was. Like, they were up 7-0 at the half. It was not a good look. I mean, it's a powerful time in the SEC. The Big Ten is just not good right now. And it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. But just watching, I mean, I think Georgia has played teams that are Georgia's played two teams at least in Ole Miss and Alabama that are probably as good as anybody in the country. I think Alabama's better than Ole Miss, but I don't know that they're way better than Ole Miss. And I think that, with A&M being undefeated, that's great. And they had a spectacular win over LSU. And they have a really good win over Notre Dame. But you do have to take the totality of things. They struggled with Auburn. They struggled with Arkansas. I mean, they just did. And, the win at Notre Dame was awesome. That really projected them. But one really great performance does not win a national championship. It just doesn't. And I think we're going to see over time here really where Georgia's at with this thing. I think it was a good weekend for Georgia, but they do have to finish this thing off and take it from there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.